Good evening. My name is Sandra Valtero and I'm your host. Tonight we are talking about Are We Ready for Disaster? The show is all about disaster preparedness, and we have people here tonight. My guests are from different agencies that are out there protecting us by being prepared for any emergencies. And they're here to educate us tonight. So let me introduce my guests. First of all, to my left is Assistant Fire Chief Michael Patterson, Jr. He is also the Deputy Emergency Manager Director for the town of Burlington for the past 3 years. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Sandy.
And next to him is Lauren DeMarco. Lauren, she's from FEMA, right? She is in the Mitigation Division in 1995, right? Okay. And since July of 2002, she joined the Regional Emergency Preparedness. Is that correct? Yeah. She also performed analysis and evaluation of the plans and procedures for state and local government. And in 2008, she joined the Regional Integration Branch within the National Preparedness Division. Welcome, Lauren.
Great, thank you.
These big titles. And next to her is Liz Foley. Liz is currently in the Department of Public Health Office of Preparedness and Emergency Management. It's called OPM, O-P-E-M? OPM, okay. So she has extensive experience in both volunteer management and emergency preparedness. And prior to her role with DPH, she spent 6 years as a coordinator of the Worcester Regional Medical Reserve Corps under the City of Worcester. Welcome.
Thank you.
And last but not least, Chris Besse is the Social Media and Public Information Coordinator for the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency, which is MEMA.
Correct.
And Chris is responsible for managing MEMA websites and social media platforms and promoting emergency preparedness and providing residents of the state with accurate and timely emergency and disaster information. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you.
A lot of good stuff here, and so you ought to be able to educate us pretty well tonight. So let me start off. I want to show you a clip by Al Roca. Can we see that clip?
It's a beautiful day out here. Sunny today with light breezes, giving way to clouds in the afternoon. We could see some light precipitation to moderate precipitation later on, followed by powerful storm-like conditions. 90 miles per hour winds are expected. Authorities are asking everyone, stay indoors. Come on, that's it. Let's go.
You can prepare, but you can't predict how it's going to turn out, right? Isn't that interesting? I thought it was so funny. So let's look at the second one, too.
You need to think about, what do I need to be okay?
If you're not prepared, it can be chaos.
It was extremely scary knowing that I was actually in danger.
This is not in your control. Prepare yourself for whatever may happen.
Okay, Mike, let's talk about what is the history of emergency management in the town of Burlington?
Sure. Well, first of all, emergency management originated from an auxiliary fire department where we had volunteers that joined the auxiliary and worked hand in hand with the Burlington Fire Department. As the years passed, it went from the auxiliary to the civil defense, which you may be familiar with. We had a civil defense director, Steve Duke. And then civil defense kind of transitioned into emergency management, where before it used to be the volunteers used to go out pumping basements. They took an active role in storms. And it transitioned now today to more of a planning and preparedness. And that's what we do right now under emergency management is we spend a lot of time in planning and preparing for an emergency situation.
And disasters.
Like very unpredictable, in the Northeast. Luckily we don't see the hurricanes that the South sees, the forest fires that the West Coast sees, but as we were saying in the back room, it seems like these 100-year storms have become 10-year storms, have become yearly events.
Right.
So it's our job to be prepared for these type of situations. We do a dual role. I'm the assistant fire chief, so our personnel at the fire department have to be prepared to respond to incidents, storm-related incidents. And as emergency management, we oversee, the biggest thing that we focus on is sheltering in the case of extensive power outages. Our focus is on providing sheltering for our residents.
Yeah. And we'll get into that in our
Sure.
second part. For this first part is really about letting people know about the different agencies that are out there trying to protect and how you work together. So can you tell us a little bit about your agency?
Sure. So similarly, we do similar things on the federal level, and FEMA has 10 offices around the nation. So our office covers the Region 1 states, which is all the New England states. So we work hand in hand with our state partners and local partners to help the communities really prepare and respond and recover from any type of disaster.
Good. Okay. And Liz?
Sure. So for the Department of Public Health, my specific office, the Office of Preparedness and Emergency Management, we have a whole team of people that work on, planning and making sure that local communities and state partners and nonprofit organizations all sort of integrate with one another. So before a disaster or any sort of emergency does take place, plans are in place. And we also work to educate the public on letting them know the importance of personal preparedness and just some easy ways that they can prepare themselves to make a more resilient community overall.
Good. Chris, how about yours?
Sure. So ours is kind of a combination of all of the folks that have talked so far. And we're sort of the go-between between the communities like Burlington and the federal government, FEMA. So essentially what happens in an emergency is it always sort of starts out locally, that the local police, the local fire, they're the first ones to respond and deal with the emergency. And then if the town or city is overwhelmed and is looking for additional assistance or resources, they come to us at the state level. And we can go to our state partner agencies, we can go to other parts of the state, we can go to other states, and then if it's big enough, we can go to the federal government for assistance. So we're sort of the lead coordinating agency in disasters, coordinating the state's response and supporting impacted communities.
Okay. So let's go back to you.
Sure.
So what is your role in particular as emergency medical director?
Sure. The fire department took over the role of emergency management three or 4 years ago. I am the deputy emergency management director, so I wear two hats. One of the things that I can talk about is the relationships that we have with MEMA and FEMA. We've had a couple of storm incidents where we've done initial damage assessments, and we've worked with MEMA to document the damage that occurred in our community, who then works with FEMA. So if there's any monies to recover, that's in place. So recent incidents, storms, snowstorms of a few years ago, that was an emergency situation for us. I mean, our resources were overtaxed. So it was a combination of fire, police, DPW working together to try to make the community safer. There's costs associated with maintaining roads, collecting, clearing debris, and luckily enough, and in a state of emergency, we can recoup some of those funds, and that's where we partner with MEMA and FEMA. So as an emergency management director, we're at the local level. We ask for assistance through MEMA Region 1, who then deals directly with FEMA.
So would you be the one that calls out the police or anybody else that needs to come to?
I mean, I will say in this community, over the years, we've gotten better at working together. You know, public safety, police, fire, DPW work very well together. We work well with Board of Health. We have good relationships. Council on Aging. So it's a partnership. We work together when something goes bad, and we know we can rely on our friends at MEMA and FEMA to support us.
Okay, thank you.
And quite often in a small community, you do run out of resources, equipment, and that's where we can turn to MEMA for assistance.
Okay, thank you. Lauren, what do you specifically do for your organization?
Yeah, so day to day in the National Preparedness Division, what I do is work with our state partners and communities to help kind of prepare them in ways like through training and exercises, so we can design certain scenarios that would put people in a position to think about how they would respond in a disaster, and then talk through those and kind of help them to think about things that they may not necessarily be thinking about before the disaster hits. We do a lot of outreach to different kinds of schools, faith-based organizations. We work a lot with our federal partners, making sure too, and business partners, making sure that they have continuity of operations so they can get back up and running after the disaster. So we try to, in the National Preparedness Division, really get ahead and help people prepare before things happen.
It's a good idea, I would think, yeah. And does that go out to the public as well? I mean, do you have trainings or out there for people?
Yes, absolutely. If you go onto our website too, we have a ton of free trainings that anyone can take and help prepare them. Ready.gov has a lot of resources too. You can download a lot of templates that can help prepare your own company, your workplace, your home, your family, and your pets. Don't want to forget our pets when we talk about preparedness, so absolutely.
That's good, thank you. How about you, Liz?
Sure. So my position is the Health Volunteer Coordinator for the department. So I'm not sure if the audience is familiar with the Medical Reserve Corps, which I hope, you know, they're a big sponsor of the show and are, you know, why we're here tonight. So as the Volunteer Health Coordinator, I sort of coordinate with all of the MRCs across the state. I also work with MEMA, with the Citizen Corps program. We are putting together a training that we offer to our local communities, whether that's emergency management or the health department. So when an emergency or disaster does take place, and say a shelter needs to open, and personnel is one of the most difficult things to find, you know, in a disaster, just because everyone's doing a million things. So having people staff that shelter, you know, we work alongside the Red Cross and within the community. So just as my job, it's to provide support to the local MRC units across the state, and also put together policies and procedures. So, you know, if the Burlington Volunteer Reserve Corps needed additional assistance, you know, you could look to your neighbors in Boston or, you know, out west if they haven't been affected by the same emergency that you have, to say, could you provide volunteers? And so we have a standard across the state as to how to do that.
So as our unit, our MRC unit needs help putting up a shelter, let's say, we would notify you to get more volunteers to come man those shelters.
Yep, so we would reach out to those units around you first, but if they have also been affected by that same disaster emergency, or just, you know, didn't have the capacity to fill the request, then we would reach out to the larger, the statewide group.
No, that's good to know.
It's kind of similar what we do in the fire services. We rely heavily on mutual aid.
Yeah.
So we have agreements in place that if a community is overtaxed, there's plans to bring in unaffected communities. So,
yeah, good idea. Hi, Chris. And what do you do at your agency?
Sure. So as the public information coordinator, I'm essentially the spokesperson of the agency, and my job is to get, you know, accurate, timely, reliable information out to the public about what's going on. So that could be before a disaster, if there's a storm that we're aware of that's coming, whether it's a hurricane coming up the coast, whether it's a sunny day with thunderstorms in the summertime, or also in the middle of an emergency or in a no-notice event. you know, if we have a tornado in the middle of the night, like we saw this summer in Concord, or other emergencies. So to talk about what the state's doing, talk about maybe protective actions that the public needs to take, if there's a travel ban, to help publicize that, getting information out to the media. So we use both traditional media and also obviously some newer media, social media, our website, an alerting app that we have. So really trying to get the word out in as many ways as possible to the public so that they all hear the same message.
Good, good.
And I can say that they do a great job. I mean, over the past several years, I know myself and Chief Yetman, we rely heavily on the information that's given to us from MEMA. And generally the information's spot on too. So it really helps us prepare and plan for events.
Yeah, and it makes the public feel more secure that there's so many of you involved in keeping us safe and being prepared for anything that could possibly happen.
Absolutely. And generally they give us information well in advance, very accurate information. I mean, was it the weather? Who does the weather with MEMA?
Sure. So a lot for the weather, we rely on the National Weather
Yes,
Service,
that's
who's the
right.
federal agency essentially
Yep.
who does the weather updates. So we partner with them. We have conference calls with them to get updates about what's going on and the potential impacts to the citizens.
And that helps us huge because that we can up our staffing levels at the fire station. The police can up their staffing levels. You know, DPW can prepare. So vital information that we receive.
Very important. Good. Can we take a look at that clip now?
Management agency is making an effort to inform the public on how to stay safe during natural disasters. A presentation was given at the Larson Senior Center last week by MEMA coordinator Doug Forbes on how the organization works with the community and FEMA to help those in need after disasters. In addition, he went over the 4 phases of emergency management and preparedness. AACS was there to cover the event, and we spoke with him to learn about how residents can stay safe.
Hi, I'm Doug Forbes. I work for the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency, and I'm a local coordinator. Today we did a special program on emergency preparedness, how to be safe in an emergency. And we covered the 4 phases of emergency management. We covered mitigation, which is to prevent something from happening in the first place, preparedness, which involves training and studying, response, and how to get out of the way when the emergency vehicles are coming down the roadway, and recovery, how we get people back the best we can to where they were before a disaster. And we work with FEMA, the Small Business Administration, the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency, and all the private nonprofits to do just that. Well, the important thing is to have an emergency supplies kit and be ready to go. So the most important things to have in that kit would be a prescription medicine, your eyeglasses, a portable radio with batteries, a flashlight with extra batteries, and things like that. And then you want to have a family emergency plan. So you have a place where you're going to meet and how you're going to communicate with each other to make sure that everyone's safe. We encourage people to bring their bedding to a shelter. And then we also tell them to bring the space blankets as well. And I recommend that people have those little $1 or $2 space blankets in their car, in their home, and in their emergency kit that they would bring to a shelter. Now maybe you remember to bring your bedding to a shelter, but maybe you didn't. Your neighbor didn't. You could be a good neighbor by handing them a space blanket and they'd be warm for the night. So that's one way you can help someone else in time of emergency. Maybe a next door neighbor had a problem, they have to leave their home and they just come over to your house. You can give them a blanket to just keep them warm for a few minutes until more help is available. We encourage people to call the 1-800 number and get their free copy of the book, Are You Ready? And all they have to do is call 1-800-480-2520. They can also go to FEMA.gov and get that same book. It's free of charge. It's available in print edition, Braille, and also cassette tape. And also they can get the children's books as well, which can be great too, as the kids can have fun and do activities and learn how to be safe at the same time. We don't have the latest data yet, but we're trying to be ready regardless of what we have to face. But whether it's a hurricane or a winter storm, all it takes is one storm to cause a lot of problems. So we want to be prepared. And now's the time to be prepared. They call it blue sky planning. When the skies are blue, that's when you gather your disaster supplies kit, make your plans, and then you don't have to think about it. You're ready to go. In the front hall closet, you got that little go kit when you need to go to a shelter. You just pick it up and grab it and you're good to go. But let's say you're going to stay put in your home. The power goes out. Where am I going to find a flashlight? Well, you know, in the front hall closet, you got that Go kit with some flashlights and extra batteries, and you're all set. Whether you're going to move or whether you're going to stay, you know exactly where they are, and they're dedicated for that purpose.
Sure, so they absolutely can reach out to our partners MEMA as well as us at any time, and we're happy to come out. We can, through our America's Prepare-a-thon on the website ready.gov that you showed, there's a lot of templates that we can kind of customize. So if an emergency manager wants to get a specific portion of his or her population ready, we can go out and sit with him and design a seminar, a workshop, or even anything as simple as you know, getting everyone to download a certain app for an emergency preparedness. So whatever they need, whatever the community is looking for, we're happy to come out and provide that kind of support.
Great, great. Chris, you mentioned something about something we don't know or wouldn't know about your agency that you provide. What would that be?
Sure. Just in general, I think one of the things people think about MEMA and maybe FEMA in general is that they're sort of first responders and they come to people's homes and help them, and we're really not. Emergency management, whether it's us at MEMA or at the federal level, is really a coordinating agency, working to coordinate across and with the local first responders.
Okay, that sounds good. So who's our medical director in, you have a medical director, emergency medical director in Burlington?
We have, I mean, we have a medical control doctor that is out of Leahy Clinic.
Oh, I see, okay.
So it's two separate things from emergency management director.
Okay. And do you coordinate with the local hospitals in case of an emergency? Do you have a plan?
I mean, we have a pretty good line of communication with Leahy Hospital, absolutely. You know, we work with them. One of the things we do on an annual basis is we do mass decontamination training at the Leahy Hospital emergency room. So in the event of a bio or chemical type incident, the fire department can respond, set up our decontamination units and decon people before they enter an emergency room. So yeah, we do a lot of work with Leahy Hospital.
Yeah, that's good. I was part of that little training they had there. I was one of the victims.
You were. Hopefully it was a warm day.
Yeah, it was. So we're getting close to the end. Briefly, one last comment about your agency and what you think people should know. Want to start, Chris?
Sure. So I think we've talked a lot tonight about what our agencies are all doing to prepare, but I think if people watching this take away one thing, it's really that they need to also do their own preparations at home, because even though the government's working to make plans and get things ready, you know, personal preparedness is definitely a key and the first step in emergency preparedness, that people are self-sufficient for a few days until maybe government can step in and help them out after a disaster.
And definitely we will get into that next month in our next show. And
sure. I would just like to echo what Chris said. You know, it does start at the local level, but even below that, you know, personal preparedness. And just if you are going to take away something, it's that we all work very closely with one another. So even though you might not see us day to day, or if you don't think that, you know, we're working hard, we are planning for all different types of disasters and emergencies across the state.
Thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. We definitely live this every day. So just, again, get a kit, be informed, and get your communications plan. Visit ready.gov for any of the resources.
Good, thank you. Very good advice. One quick comment?
Just for the people of Burlington, know that your town departments work very closely together to try to mitigate situations. And then when we're overtaxed, there are plans in place to bring in additional resources, and that's where we partner with MEMA and FEMA.
Okay.
So,
well, I think it was very interesting and very informative. So I want to thank Mike, Lauren, Liz, and Chris for joining me this evening. And everyone, this show can be seen on BCAT in February. And this show, of course, is on every month, and we try to bring something on health, wellness, or safety. And today we were talking about being prepared for disaster, and I hope we all listen carefully to some of the organizations that are out there and available for us. And also they pointed out very clearly that we all need to take a personal effort in getting ourselves and our family prepared. So thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next month.